Welcome everybody to this Java break with Basis. Today's session is how version 11 improves your bottom line. This is an introductory piece that will kick off our summer session with 4 more Java breaks, all spinning out of this introduction. My name is Paul Yeomans and I'll be joined today by Nico Spence, our CEO and chairman. Let's take a look at the agenda. From our very successful TechCon in Las Vegas, we've gone in and culled the version 11 features of the Basis product set which have the most direct positive impact on your bottom line. The theme for that TechCon was Step into the Cloud with Basis, and we'll touch on that as we get into the session a little bit here. We'll begin with 3 new cloud offerings which will allow you to present a new set of deployment strategies to your customers. Then we'll move straight into those features that we think can deliver the most to your bottom line. The first of which is data replication. This new version 11 feature got loads of attention at TechCon since it's an efficient and effective method for disaster recovery and backup without any system downtime. We've created a replication wizard to make the process easy while still allowing for granular control. The next piece we'll look at is IPv6, and what is it and what does it mean to you? Then we'll move over to brand new Barista enhancements. We've added efficiencies and utilities into the Barista product that will allow you to skip those costs of those third-party utilities. The ability to export data directly into the document output system, the ability to interface directly with Google Docs for cloud storage, to be able to reprint documents from the document inquiry process, and more. Then we'll look at the browser user interface, we refer to that as BUI, and CSS on mobile devices. The excitement here was for our browser user interface and CSS being used to update and to create user-friendly controls on mobile devices. Now, personnel on site can increase their productivity and the organization's productivity with the newly found ability to review and enter data from the remote project sites. And at the end, we'll wrap it up with your questions and we'll supply you with the answers. The theme, as I mentioned, for the conference that we just held was Step into the Cloud with Basis. And what we did at the TechCon was to share our experiences of moving most all of our business functions into the cloud in 2010. Everything from CUI to GUI to BUI now runs in the cloud. Even our source code archives, our build machines, test machines, and production machines all live in the cloud in data centers scattered across the United States, stretching from East Coast to West Coast and to Europe as well. There are many benefits we currently enjoy having made that move to the cloud, and we've listed just a few of them here. Let's review the 3 new cloud offerings that I mentioned. First one is going to be the BBJ Cloud, and then the add-on software cloud services, and finally a promotion that we've made permanent, our software as a service offering. The first offering is from one of our key Basis partners. They are offering BBJ Cloud infrastructure that allows you to access your BBJ applications from any broadband internet connection. Whether your app uses CUI, Thin Client, or BUI, the BBJ Cloud can handle it all. You can begin with a few virtual machines to test and evaluate your application, and then ramp on up your resources when and where you need them. Application developers can define templates that can have new customers up and operational in just minutes. A minimum of 8 users for this offering is required at a monthly cost of just $25 per user for the basic package, including BBJ license and the required infrastructure to support it. Naturally, customized packages can be configured, and for more information, I would invite you to visit bbjcloud.com and to take note of the 800 number, 800-840-8649. The next cloud offering is the new add-on software cloud services. What we've done is we've structured a simple program that starts with a monthly $99 per user cost, and what that gets you is all 3 ERP bundles. That's the accounting, manufacturing, and distribution bundles as a part of add-on software. You get the development tool Barista, and you get BBJ. In the cloud itself, you get cloud server, data storage, nightly backup of both your data and your application, and the requirements are 5 named users, and at any time you can add additional users. And despite the fact that the cost is so low, there still are partner margins available. What I'd like you to do is to check out a little bit more information on this offering. Go to addonsoftware.com, and underneath the product navigation keys at the top or on the left side of the home screen, select Cloud Services. Let's take a look at the third offering we have. This next offering is a SaaS, which is Software as a Service offering, that was originally a temporary promotion, and we have elected to make it permanent. What it does is it provides developers with a fast track to deploying their Barista applications by lowering the initial cost to customers. The promotion offers a substantial cost savings by converting a customer's license to an annual subscription license, and we go in and waive some additional fees and costs. Let's take a look more specifically at what that's about. I say on the slide that the SaaS offering improves your bottom line. Let's see how it does that. Typically you'd have reinstatement fees, and we've elected to waive those. The Enterprise Edition exchange cost will be waived. The Barista, the Rapid Application Development Tool, purchase cost is waived. And so all you're paying for is the license upgrade and SAM for Barista and the Enterprise Edition. You can find out more about this offering as a partner, logging in and then going to the pricing page and looking at current promotions, or to the web address that's on the slide. Now let's move on to the first version 11 feature that will also have a positive impact on your bottom line: database replication. Nico Spence will present these new features and enhancements.
Thanks, Paul. Well, this Java break coming up on July the 6th is going to focus specifically on the database, and we'll be taking you through more information about database management, reminding you of some features that we've added in the past, about new database techniques that will be useful both for cloud management of your database if you've moved your database into the cloud, or on-site. We'll show you again how you can create live backups. Online copy job interface is available for you to maintain a copy of any live data files. And we'll show you how you can speed up your data access for ODBC or JDBC access through third-party tools, some enhancements we've made to the SQL engine to make it more efficient. We'll also show you how you can add new keys without interrupting your users. But probably one of the most significant features that we released at TechCon in BBJ 11 is the database and file replication feature. I believe this is going to be an integral feature for any of your sites, be they Pro5, Visual Pro5, or BBJ. You can link your interpreters, client-side interpreters, to the BBJ database and take advantage of the new database and file replication capability. So used for backup and recovery of your data, you can keep your data safe and archived. Definitely one of the elements that'll deliver great savings and functionality, improving your bottom line and your customers' bottom line. So let's look at database replication and look at the components of database replication. You can replicate specific files and or directories from one machine to another. You can do it on the same machine, on machines within a local area network, or machines in a wide area network, perhaps like a machine in the cloud. You can replicate an entire database. So if you have a data dictionary defined in the basis database, you can replicate that whole database across to a separate location. Can be completely transparent to the users, so users won't be aware that this transaction is taking place in the background. And once the data is synchronized, all changes to the files are replicated. Any writes, any write records, removes, mkeyed creations, erase of any data files, insert, updates, deletes, creating or drop tables from SQL type statements are all replicated across to the secondary database. Some clear advantage to database replication is disaster recovery. If you ever have a situation where you're concerned that you may have disk failure and need to recover data, then database replication is clearly for you. It's efficient and effective. Tape backups cannot achieve a stateful backup if you're trying to run them while users are in place. Obviously you have to bring the system down, so there's no downtime with database replication. It's always keeping the two databases in sync. The integrity of your file writes are preserved because it's happening at the database level. So Basis is taking care that when a write is done to the primary database, that's replicated across to the secondary database. You can create live backups off-site, local, or even multiple sites. So you can have more than one target location for your database replication or your file replication. It creates a read-only copy of the database or the files, and that allows you to offload any queries and reports to conserve your operational, your production system resources. It can also provide the database in closer proximity to the user group. So if it's on a separate machine that the users are more closely linked to, either physically or just on a network connection basis, it can offload that data to that secondary machine. So let's have a look at an example. So let's imagine we have Pro5 or BBJ application server running over here that has your clients connecting in. And here you have your BBJ database, your primary source, either your mkeyed files, your direct files, whatever file types that you have in the basis database. And then you could have a replicated target that's read-only on the local machine, or on a local area network we could have a replicated target, and this is and/or. Thirdly, you could be moving this data up perhaps into the cloud through the wide area network or to a remote location. Basis, for example, replicates their production database. We replicate our production database from the West Coast to the East Coast, across to a machine in Asia and across to a machine in Ireland. So we actually have our data replicated across multiple locations simultaneously. So let's look at how we can go and create database replication. So this session on July 6th will show you some demos of how you can create and manage your replication jobs. Within the Enterprise Manager, there's a new tab to use a wizard to quickly and easily create jobs for replicating. You can access it through the BBJ admin API. So you could create your own business logic in your own application code to fire off and create replication jobs and manage those jobs within your application code. So that's accessible from any BBJ or Java application. So this is what it looks like. This new tab down here, Replication, is now available in the BBJ Enterprise Manager. And there you can create your jobs. Perhaps it's a database replication, and you can have multiple jobs running simultaneously. And those remote machines don't necessarily need to be up at all times. If the machine is unavailable, it'll merely pause the replication across to that machine until that machine becomes available. So the wizard is as simple as selecting the database to replicate or selecting the directory to replicate, specifying the new target database name, specifying the target host, user, and password. So this is an example within the Replication Wizard of what the replication job looks like. Some other considerations though, when you're looking at database replication, you want to consider the cost, you want to consider the performance. So let's think about what the costs are involved. We're not actually charging additional fees for database replication. As long as your license is covered by SAM, the Software Asset Management, the feature is in place and will function. It will of course require additional I/O on both your source and your target machines, but those are minimal, especially in a production environment with live user interaction with the database. Then you should not see any major effect on the I/O. Performance is going to be dependent on network bandwidth to the remote machine or the remote database, and the frequency of modifications on the source database will obviously affect the amount of traffic that will be generated by the replication job. Let me hand you back to Paul. So look out for the database replication Java break on July 6th for more detailed information.
Thank you, Nico. With version 11, we've made all these basis components IPv6 capable. Visual Pro 5, Pro 5, BBJ, and Pro 5 Data Server. If you're unsure what exactly that means, let's quickly review IPv6. The address space used by the current version of the Internet Protocol, IPv4, is expected to run out this year. Without action, we all risk additional costs and limited functionality online for Internet users everywhere. The only long-term solution to this problem is the adoption of IPv6, which provides over 4 billion times more space. IPv6 is used extensively already in many large networks, but it's never been enabled at the global scale. IPv4 might be fine for any existing organization, but for a new organization, IPv6 will be a requirement. Some of the questions you need to ask yourself is, will your customer systems work with new website services? It's going to be an IPv6 world. It's time right now to get ready for this eventuality. The good news is that BASIS is already ready with our version 11 release. Our version 11 products are fully IPv6 compatible, and since BASIS has already made that switch in compatibility for all our components to IPv6, this presents you with a revenue opportunity again for your bottom line. On our add-on software homepage, we've added an IPv6 test button as a subtle reminder to everyone, and selecting it, it will show that our site is already IPv6 ready. The way it works is, selecting the button, it runs a test on our web server and the domain name system hostnames, all of which are compatible and ready to go forward. Back on June 8th was World IPv6 Day, and major web companies and other industry players such as AOL, Cisco, YouTube, Google, and BASIS, and several others enabled IPv6 on their main websites for a period of about 24 hours. And the goal there was to motivate organizations across the industry, internet service providers, hardware makers, OS vendors, and web companies to prepare their services for IPv6 to ensure a successful transition as IPv4 addresses run out. Early results indicated that the day passed according to plan with no significant problems. The consensus, though, that there was still much more work that needs to be done before IPv6 can be fully applied at a global level. Organizations that have participated or did participate in that one-day test are continuing to perform analysis, and one big player, Facebook, has elected to leave their developer site fully IPv6 enabled. Again, making that transition moving forward. You can move into the next generation of World Wide Web networking without changing software. All you need to do is upgrade to version 11 of your favorite BASIS interpreter, and you're good to go. I'll turn it back over to Nico, who will take us into some of the new Barista enhancements in version 11.
The next Java break on August the 3rd is going to look at new Barista enhancements. Let's have a quick preview. Firstly, there's some new functions in BBJ 11 and Barista 11. We're able to export retrieve data directly to the dockout system without having to go through an interim step. There's one-step export to PDF, XLS, text, CSV, and XML document types. You can copy and paste information from a screen inquiry and select option names, delimiters, and text identifiers. The new inquiry system is in preview now, and that's really exciting. It's an open-ended, multiple table inquiry. Basically, you can construct as complex an SQL statement as you like. You can nest SQL select statements. You can include store procedure calls, and therefore really generate whatever data you might want to see within a Barista inquiry engine. And of course, from there, you have all the business logic to be able to export that data again to dockout and to any file format that you like. You can filter the results, you can include business logic, and power users can create their own reports, giving them significant productivity gains, saving them money and saving you time. You're able to call filter programs as well after each fetched row to determine whether you want to include that row in your result set. So very, very powerful new functionality. I encourage you to download the nightly builds to have a look at that functionality in Barista. That'll be upcoming and previewed in a later release of Barista this year. Some of the document output features that are in BBJ 11 and Barista 11, you have the ability to rename your saved output files. So you can go to the archive system and look up a document that's in the archive and rename it to a name that's useful to you, that might be more familiar and easily sortable or searchable. You have the one-step select and process to a particular output type. We've also introduced the ability to interface to Google Docs. So if you're moving into the cloud again, this is a great functionality that we've added to Dockout, to Barista, to interface quite completely to Google Docs. You can create native spreadsheet.xls type output. That's utilizing the POI interface, Java library. You can open and reprint documents from the document inquiry system. So from the archive, you can go and do an inquiry on previous documents that were printed, and you can open them and reprint them from within the document inquiry subsystem. So let's have a look at what some of those screenshots look like. So here we are in a standard inquiry. So this is available throughout the system. Any table that you're inquiring on or any complex query that you've called up, You can naturally enough filter them, select the columns that you wish to see, but now you can export them directly to a PDF format, text format, XLS type format. We also have the option within Docout to interface directly to Google Docs. So you have a very significant, comprehensive selection criteria. You can select system printer, you can go to an unformatted type, maybe for output directed to a third-party tool like Unform. You can save to disk, you can email, fax, or save it to a Google Doc. And you can also launch the document in that particular format thereafter. So whatever association you have with XLS, for example, will launch the document in a spreadsheet. This is what the Google Doc interface looks like. So you can save the Google Doc. It gives you a tree type view and the various documents that are currently in place. So rename the document and save it in the Google Doc format. Reprinting documents from the document archive. So if you go into the documents inquiry from your archive, you can search on any of these columns, on any perhaps custom name you've given to it, and then you can export that directly to PDF or to fax it, send it to the fax queue, or edit the information relating to that document record. Not the document itself, of course. The new query definition that's upcoming in the next release of Barista, that's in preview right now. This is one where over here on this tab, for example, SQL syntax, you can either let the wizard, this query definition wizard, create the complex SQL query, joining the various tables, retrieving information from subsidiary tables, or you could write your own SQL and import that SQL into the query definition. And thereafter you have all the power and the functionality of the SQL query engine within Barista. So very powerful new tools. Look forward to seeing you at the Java break on August the 3rd to see more details about these Barista enhancements. Next up, on August 17th, is going to be more information about the browser user interface and cascading style sheets that are most applicable for your applications running on mobile devices or on any browser on your desktop. So perfectly suited for web applications. You can enable your desktop applications for the web and utilize the built-in Jetty web server to serve up those applications to the World Wide Web. You can serve it to a desktop, to a laptop, to a smartphone, or your tablet of choice. So your mobile devices obviously lead to cost savings through efficiency and increased productivity. No need to acquire additional devices, instant access to your application from wherever the user may be. You can do queries and entries from the work site, really common use case for remote application access and improving your productivity. You can eliminate paperwork by doing your data entry in the step on site. Really applicable to any browser-enabled device. Let's talk a little bit more about what CSS brings to the equation. It really allows your BUI application to be customized in terms of look and feel in a very dramatic fashion. It allows complete control over the style of the hypertext document that's formatted on the device, on the browser. It affects the look and feel. Code, of course, remains the same. Your same BBJ code that you've written continues to function as it did before, but the external CSS file changes the appearance of the application. And I'll show you an example of that in a minute. You can swap the CSS file style in and out. You can even have it swapped out by user. It provides a distinct look and feel for the customers based on either the company or the brand or the information you wish to highlight for their particular use case, and can be modified without touching any of your application code. So what does that involve? You have a custom cascading style sheet browser user interface definition, and your CSS selectors will define simple controls, and you can change the complete look and feel of a control with CSS. You can change complex controls. You can change individual control components. For example, first, previous, next, last buttons, etc. can all change their look and feel. And so various control states can be modified by CSS, whether they're enabled, opaque, selected, etc. So here's a good example of a typical BBJ application rendered within the browser user interface. So this is running, in this case, on a Apple Mac. I think this is running on Chrome. And this is the default style. So it looks as you would expect, like any desktop type application would look. But if we add some CSS, this is what it can look like. So this customized version has colored group boxes with rounded corners and a slight drop shadow and a bold font for titles. So here's the group box definition, for example. It increases the visibility of the currently focused control. So here we've changed it to red. Colored text boxes with rounded corners and an inner drop shadow helps to suggest depth. And our colored read-only controls over here and disabled text boxes can be changed to give an indication to the user that they have different functionality. And we can have glossy buttons. You see the sort of two-tone shading here on the save button, and they can also have hover effects. So you could change color or actually provide some animation to that control as the user moves their mouse over it. So very, very powerful features, and we'll go into more detail on this in our August 17th session. And really, if one looks at the benefit to the end user and to the developer community, the browser user interface and cascading style sheets really exceeds the oft-quoted Java claim of writing once and running anywhere. With Basis and BUI, we can write once and run everywhere. Basis delivers these improvements to your bottom line. Think about the cost of writing an application a second time for a mobile device versus taking existing business logic that's tried and tested and proven and be able to do minor tweaks to it to make it run in a very efficient and attractive fashion in a browser. A really classic example of this is here at Basis. Our Enterprise Manager is written in Java. And so if we wanted to run Enterprise Manager on a mobile device, we couldn't do so. We'd have to rewrite the interface. So this code won't run in the browser. Java code will need a user interface rewrite to be able to run in the browser. And what we've done as a sample, and we'll show you this at our Java break on August 17, we've taken a subset of the Enterprise Manager and utilized the admin API to rewrite it in BBJ. And so here's the BBJ Enterprise Manager in BUI running in the thin client. So this is running on my Apple Mac desktop. And we can see information such as the active processes. We can see the call stack. So if I've called program A to program B to program C, I can see the line numbers, the state of all those programs, the physical line number and actual line listing running on all of those. So that's available in the Enterprise Manager in BBJ 11. It's also available through the admin API. And now this will run in the browser as well. So without any change to this code, here it is running in a browser. So really powerful functionality, really delivering to your bottom line. And there's one new item. We didn't even show this at our TechCon. We have another great example of a BBJ browser user interface menu program, which does scalls to various subprograms, BUI subprograms. And you'll really see a great example of utilizing CSS to make buttons and BBJ controls render in an entirely different style and look and feel in our upcoming session on August 17th. So join us then for some really exciting information about the browser user interface and utilizing cascading style sheets to make your application really look attractive. Let me hand you back to Paul.
Thanks, Nico. So in summary, we've covered quite a bit of ground here. We had a few words about TechCon 2011, stepping into the cloud with Basis. We talked about the 3 new cloud offerings, the BBJ Cloud, the add-on software cloud services, and the software as a service offering. We touched on the next 4 Java breaks, which will be database replication, more about IPv6, new Barista enhancements that we've added in version 11, BUI and CSS on mobile devices. Let's take a look at the upcoming schedule. As I mentioned, we'd be rolling straight into those topics, and here is that schedule. Now let's take your questions.